Adventures of Harry Nile.
Have I given you everything you need to know, Mr. Nile?
Let's go over it again. Your name is Justine Schumann. You left your husband. You moved up to Vancouver a month ago. Now you can't reach him on the phone, and you want me to go check and see if he's all right.
Yes.
And he lives out by Lake Ballinger in a secluded house.
Yes. I always worried that if we ever needed help, nobody could see our house except from the lake. I mean, there aren't any close neighbors, and we are surrounded by trees.
Uh-huh. And if he doesn't answer the door, you want me to go get the door key from under the potted plant on the porch and just go inside?
Yes.
Okay, Mrs. Schumann, I'll take a run up there right away.
And if he's okay,
Yeah?
tell him to call me.
Okay, gotcha.
I mean, I'd rather pay someone like you to find out than have some policemen go up there and, uniforms and police cars and all.
Oh, I think I understand.
And I'll put my check in the mail to you first thing.
That'll be fine.
There's one thing I didn't mention.
Yeah?
The reason I left him. His drinking was getting out of hand. I thought if I left him for a while, it might sort of shock him into going on the wagon, but now...
I'll let you know, Mrs. Schumann.
It is the morning of Thursday, November the 1st, 1951, and the odor of singed pumpkin lingers in the alder leaves, and blackened jack-o'-lanterns still grin from front porches as a reminder of Halloween the night before. Thin sunlight over Seattle barely melts the frost as Harry sallies forth to search for a missing husband and winds up finding something unexpected along the way.
Well, I find the Schumann cottage. It's not a big place, probably built as a summer hideaway on the lake, and it's hidden on three sides by a dense forest of fir, maple, and alder. The fourth side's the lake. There's a car in the garage, carpet of dead pine needles on the ground, and a wood pile out back. Everything looks quiet and peaceful. Mr. Schumann? Mr. Schumann! I look through a window. Some lights are still on in the living room. That's not a good sign. So I go find the house key. And I let myself in the front door. Mr. Schumann! Mr. Schumann, I'm a detective. I've come to see if you're all right. Nothing. I go into the kitchen. There's a partly eaten sandwich on the sideboard. Meatloaf, looks like. In the sink, there's a couple of empty wine bottles, and down in the corner, a paper bag holds a dozen beer bottles, also empty. I check the other rooms. There's an unmade bed. There's pocket articles dumped on the dresser. But it's when I check the bathroom that I get a new direction on this thing. There's no water in the toilet bowl. There's no water in the toilet tank. So I try the faucets on the wash basin. They're dry. Now, I wonder how long the water's been shut off. And why? I check the rest of the house. No sign of a struggle, nothing unusual at all. I call the bookshop where he's a partner, and they haven't seen him for 3 days either. Well, I decide I'll dial up Murphy, my part-time assistant. I figure she can do some paper checking while I hit the trail.
Yeah, Osterman here.
Hi, Mr. Osterman. It's Harry Nile. Let me talk to Murphy if she's around.
Mr. Nile, Fräulein Murphy's not here anymore.
Well, listen, can you tell her to... what'd you say?
Fräulein Murphy. She's not here anymore.
Yeah, that's what I thought you said. Look, I know English isn't your native tongue, but you made it sound like she'd moved or something.
Yeah.
She's moved? Where? Where'd she go?
I don't know.
What? Oh, come on, this is crazy. Murphy wouldn't move without telling me. When'd she leave?
Tuesday. Tuesday.
Well, did she leave me a message or anything?
Yeah. Fräulein Murphy, she's telling me to tell you goodbye, auf Wiedersehen, and thanks for everything.
But she can't do that. Murphy's been my bird dog, my researcher. She's the person I complain to when I'm stumped and the one I brag to when I win. She's Murphy. She can't run out on me like that. Now I've got 2 missing persons on my hands. I drop everything and rush back to town in Osterman's old Victorian rooming house, right up on the top of Queen Anne Hill.
Mr. Nile, come in.
Okay, Mr. Osterman, I'm here to find out where she went.
But I can't tell you. I don't know.
Now, listen, you're her landlord. You've got to have her forwarding address. Suppose she owes you some back rent.
No, she's paid up.
Okay, look, I'm a detective. I can find her myself, but I haven't got time for that. I need her help now. Let me search her room.
No, I'm sorry, Mr. Nile. I can't do that.
Why not?
Well, I rented it already to someone else.
Oh, that's great. Okay, look, if she calls you, tell her to call me right away.
Yeah.
Tell her I've got some work for her to do.
Yeah, I'll tell her if she should call.
Well, I've got to put my mind back on my business. I promised I'd let Justine Schumann know what I found out, so I place a call to her sister's place in Vancouver.
There was no sign of him?
Nope.
Oh, no.
Mrs. Schumann, it's time you filed a missing persons report.
Can't you do that for me?
Well, I can, but it would be better if you did it in person.
But I'm up here in B.C.
Well, okay. Now, do you want me to continue searching for Arthur?
Yes.
Even after the police get my report?
Yes.
Okay, well, you'll be hearing from me. I stopped by the bookshop in Bindery Schumann owns. It's a small, elegant-looking shop in Bothell. And the guy who greets me is also elegant. He wears gold-rimmed round eyeglasses and a prim little bow tie. His name is Tim Shanklin.
I wish I could help you, Mr. Nile, but I'm as mystified by all this as you are. Mysteries are supposed to be our specialty.
Well, how long have you worked for Arthur Schumann?
Why, I own the shop with him. We're equal partners.
Mr. Shanklin, when Arthur didn't show up for work on Monday, what did you do?
Well, when it got to be almost noon, I called his house. No answer. I called again about 5. I was worried. It's not like him.
You didn't go out to his house?
No, I suppose I should have. But I'm not sure I could even find the turnoff. It's quite remote, you know.
So the last time you saw him was...
Friday night when we closed up shop. You see, normally I take the week's receipts and make a night deposit at the bank because it's right on my way home and Arthur lives way out on Lake Ballinger.
But this time, Schumann made the deposit, is that right?
Yes. Arthur did it because I had to go pick up a tux for a black-tie dinner at the Norslander at 7. Bachelor party for a friend of mine getting married.
Well, how much cash would he have had on him when he left the shop?
Over $700.
Huh.
You see, I have a theory. I hate to think it, but I'm afraid Arthur's been, well... There's been a mysterious character hanging around town most of the week, and all the merchants have noticed him. He was in the shop twice, just thumbing through books. I think he was casing the place. I'm sure he followed Arthur and did something terrible to him.
You report this to the police?
I should have, but Monday night I called Justine Schumann's wife. She lives in Vancouver, and, well, you know that. And I thought maybe Arthur had gone up there to see her, but he hadn't. And she said she didn't want me to notify the authorities because she was afraid of scandal, so I didn't.
Well, now, listen, it's just about lunchtime. Why don't you drive me to your bank so I can sort of see where things are, and then we can stop by the police station and report this, and then I'll buy your lunch.
Well, I could take you over to the bank, but I've got to get right back to the store. I'm all alone here without Arthur. Oh, and I bring my lunch from home, but thanks anyway.
Well, Shanklin and I pile into his little British Hillman Minx, and he runs me over to show me where the bank and his apartment are. And we stop at the police station and fill out a report. I leave Shanklin back at his shop, and I drive out to Schumann's. And now there's a car parked beside the house. It's too expensive to be a police car. I'm about to knock, but the front door is standing open, and in the living room is Murphy.
Harry.
What in the Sam Hill are you doing here? What do you mean running out on me? What's going on?
You don't have to answer her, Mary. I don't think I've had the pleasure, Harry. Ward Shepperton.
Shepperton?
That's right, Shepperton Security and Investigations. You may have heard of us.
Yeah. Who hasn't? Murphy, you want to tell me what's going on?
Miss Murphy and I are investigating a missing persons case.
All right, what's this Miss Murphy and I routine? Murphy, what are you doing with this guy?
She's my new assistant.
Oh, that mean you do all the talking for her?
I'm I'm working for Mr. Shepperton, Harry.
Since when?
Since Tuesday.
You're working with the competition? You have a job working for me, remember?
Yes, as I understand it, Miss Murphy has never been paid for any of the work she's done for you. I'd hardly call that a job.
I'm sorry, Harry. It was cowardly of me. I know. I just didn't know how to tell you.
Yeah, so you ran out on me. You even checked out of Osterman so I wouldn't follow you.
Oh, I knew you'd take it this way.
Take it this way? I brought you up here from Los Angeles. I trained you. I taught you everything you know.
Harry, you didn't bring me up here. I came up on my own.
Tut, old boy. Let's stick to the facts. You used Mary's research skills. You used Mary's library connections.
Whoa. Wait a minute. What's this Mary?
That's my first name.
You never told me that.
You never asked.
Yes, I did. The first night we met, the night we went to Chillyville, the night I took you out to the beach when we were trying to chase down that guy from New York.
This is all very touching, but I have an investigation to do here. I'm sure you can appreciate...
What do you mean you have an investigation? I'm the one Justine Schumann hired to find her husband.
And I'm the one Vivian Schumann hired to find her son. How do you suppose I got the key to this house? She gave me hers.
So we're both trying to find the same guy for two different clients.
Amazing powers of deduction, old boy.
Murphy's working for the other guy. Ward Shepperton runs the biggest PI outfit in the state with offices in Portland and Vancouver as well. And to say it's a blow to my pride is, well, it's like saying the Sahara Desert is a sandbox.
Well, old boy, since it seems fate has thrown us together on the same case, I'm sure you'll learn a great deal from watching a professional at work.
And I'm sure if you call me old boy one more time, I'm going to whack you so hard on the top of your head you'll have 3 tongues in your shoes.
Harry, Ward, both of you, stop it. You're acting as if this is some kind of a game.
I assure you, Mary, I am in deadly earnest.
Yeah, well, so am I, and I need to talk with Schumann's mother.
Absolutely not. Mrs. Schumann retained my agency on terms of the strictest secrecy. She wants to avoid unpleasant publicity. That's why she retained my firm rather than report her son's absence to the police.
She doesn't want to go to the police?
A matter of privacy.
Yeah? Well, my Mrs. Schumann asked me to turn in a missing persons report, and I did about a half an hour ago.
You didn't.
I did.
Well, maybe Harry's got a good idea, Ward. Why don't we all go to West Seattle and see Mrs. Schumann?
So we lock up the house and drive to the posh apartment overlooking Puget Sound where Arthur Schumann's mother lives.
Yes?
Oh,
Mr. Shepperton.
Mrs. Schumann, you remember my assistant, Miss Murphy, and this is Harry Nile. Mr. Nile is also a private investigator.
Oh, well, come in. Sit anywhere you like. What have you found out?
Mr. Nile here tells me he has been retained by your daughter-in-law to try to locate your son.
Is that so? And where is Justine these days?
Well, she's staying out of town with a relative. I guess you knew she'd left Arthur.
Oh, yes, I knew. Have you made any progress at all, Mr. Shepperton?
Well, of course, I've only had the case a few hours.
Mrs. Schumann, has your son been in touch with you the last 3 or 4 days?
What an odd question. If he'd been in touch with me, why would I be hiring a private detective to find him?
Very odd question, Mr. Nile. Now, we needn't take any more of Mrs. Schumann's time.
Well, I've got another odd question. How did you find out your son was missing?
Why, because I called, and there was no answer at his house. I called the bookshop, and they hadn't seen him either.
How do you get along with Justine?
Terry.
I don't consider that to be any of your business.
You didn't even know where Justine went after she left Arthur?
And I really couldn't care.
I see.
Well, we've taken enough of your time, Mrs. Schumann. I thought, in view of the unusual situation we have here, that you ought to know that your daughter-in-law had hired her own detective.
Mr. Shepperton, she can hire the Royal Canadian Mounted Police for all I care. I'm hiring you to find my son.
Well, I must say you have a distinctive interview technique, Harry. Now I have a lot of paperwork to do. What are your plans?
Me? I'm going back up to Lake Ballinger. And I sure could use some help. I don't suppose you'd come along with me for an hour or so, Murphy?
Miss Murphy works for me now, Harry.
Yeah, I know. I just thought. How much is he paying you, Murphy? Whatever it is, I'll match it. I'll beat it.
This is outrageous.
I'm getting $1 an hour.
I'll give you $1.25.
Come along, Mary. We're going back to the office.
Come on, let me rent her for an hour. Look, here's $2.
Oh, there you go again, Harry. You don't see it, do you? You don't have a clue.
Yeah, I do have a clue. In fact, I got a couple of clues, and I need you to run one of them down for me while I work on the other one.
I mean, you don't have a clue about why I left. You didn't think about paying me until you lost me. I didn't have any value to you until someone else hired me.
Mary, in heaven's name, this is no place to conduct yourself this way.
Well, how about it? If I were to find Arthur Schumann this afternoon, you want to be in on it, Murphy?
Mary, I'm going to my car. Starting to ring.
How about it, Murphy? Can I hire you back?
Hire me back? You never hired me in the first place, Harry. I let you use me. And then I finally decided I didn't like feeling used.
Coming, Mary?
Okay. Look, I'll put you on the payroll.
You don't have a payroll.
Okay, I'll have a payroll, and you'll be on it. The thing is, I thought we were a team.
I'm warning you, Mary, there's an end to my patience.
Oh, I always wanted us to be a team, but I guess I wasn't sure what kind of game you were playing. Oh, I hate talking in metaphors. Why can't we just say what we mean?
I am saying what I mean. I need you back again.
All right, Mary, it pains me to do this, but I'm going to have to make other arrangements. If you don't get in this car this instant.
Forget it, Murphy. I don't want to louse up your new job for you. Go on with Shepperton. You deserve a regular job with a regular salary. That's what you want, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Goodbye, Harry.
So long, Murphy. I get in my car and I head back out to the Schumann place. I don't remember much about the drive there. I guess my mind was on other things. It's getting dark. It's raining heavily when I pull up beside the house. Before I go in, I grab my flashlight. And I scout around outside to see where the main water valve is located. I find it. Right beside the house, under the kitchen window and back. The valve is open. So, why no water in the plumbing? Then I realize, this far out in the sticks, they could have a well. And if it has a well, it could have a pump. I hurry back toward the garage. Back out into the trees, and sure enough, up behind the garage, there's a broken down shed. I pry the door open. Yeah, it's the pump house. And there's an electric motor and a pump on a cement slab on the floor, right beside an old stone well housing that comes about waist high, sort of like one of those quaint wishing wells. I shine my flashlight down into it, and yeah, I get my wish. Head first, about 30 feet down. Arthur Schumann.
Go ahead, order anything you want.
Well, hey, the whole menu's in French.
Well, this is Les Maisons Blancs.
I can order for you, Harry.
Well, I don't care what it is, as long as it's expensive and you're paying for it.
Thank you so much. Well, I planned this little threesome for two reasons. First, to congratulate you for solving the case, Harry. Although a child would have known Shanklin did it.
But how did you get Shanklin to confess?
Well, I pointed out the lies he told me. He lied when he said he hadn't been out to Schumann's. The floor mat of his car was littered with those little brown pine needles.
Fur.
Okay, fir needles. Anyway, when I let myself into his apartment,
You broke into his apartment?
I didn't break a thing, but I did find a whole lot more of those fir needles in some pants.
Hardly incriminating evidence.
Well, then there was the tuxedo he didn't rent. Remember he told me he got Schumann to make the deposit because he had to pick up a tux and get into Seattle and go to a banquet at 7? Well, I located the host of that banquet, and he remembers Shanklin showing up just about 9, dressed in slacks and a sport coat.
Which would have given him plenty of time to drive out to Lake Ballinger, murder Schumann.
Set up the scene in the kitchen that he wanted to be found.
What scene?
Well, the half-eaten sandwich and the water being off. See, Shanklin, the mystery buff, wanted it to look like Schumann had been eating a sandwich when he notices there's no water, so he goes out to the well to check the pump and he falls in.
You mean to say that Shanklin caved in when you confronted him with that?
Well, there was one other little detail, the meatloaf sandwich.
What about it?
Well, it had maybe 3 bites out of it. But when the coroner did his autopsy and opened up the stomach, guess what?
No meatloaf sandwich?
Yeah, you got it. Oh, and one other thing. When I visited Shanklin's apartment, guess what I found in his refrigerator?
Meatloaf.
Which the crime lab says was the same meatloaf as the sandwich at Schumann's house.
So Shanklin killed his partner to get his half of the business.
Very, common plot. Now, to the second reason for our celebration. Miss Murphy, you are fired.
I am?
For consorting with the competition.
But never fear, Murphy. I happen to know where you can get another job.
The Adventures of Harry Nile features Phil Harper as Harry, with Pat French as Murphy, and Terry Rose as Mr. Osterman. Also in our cast were Terry McDonald as Shepperton, Richard Brestoff as Shanklin, Valerie Mamchez as Justine, and Lee Posh as Vivian. Sound created by Stu Conway, Bruce Rogerson, and Ben Peterson. Mixing by Peggy Stokes. The Meatloaf Matter was directed by Pat French, written and produced by Jim French, and was recorded before a live audience in Seattle. Jay Green speaking.